But also, I think you can draw into that experience of your team last year. You played a lot of team stuff while you're still seeking that first time 12 win. Is that a message that's going to be conveyed to the players this week?
Yeah, I don't think you can compare our team last year to Oklahoma State's program in any way, shape, or form. This is a team that's won 7 games for almost, I think, 20 years in a row. And it's their homecoming. So they still have the ability to achieve that and to keep that streak going. And we're going to get their very, very best. And Coach Gundy's been doing this a long time at one of the highest levels amongst anybody in college football. And yeah, that's the scary part. Is they have it there, they have the ability, and it's the second away week in a row where a team's homecoming, right? Which means we're going to get the best crowd that they have all year, and the most motivated those players will really be is when you play at homecoming.
Chris Carvin's another source. Kenny, what do you remember about playing against Oklahoma State's defense last year, in particular, and style-wise, what is this defense most similar to that you've already played?
Yeah, they're completely different than last year. Brought in a new coordinator last year who's still there, but he was 3 down, 3 eye safety, and they're not that this year. They're back to 4 down, way more traditional based. I could see them potentially going back to the 3 down, so we're gonna have to practice both, just because they did do a little bit of that. So you have to have a plan for both. But for us, most similar to from a scheme perspective, how they're playing football, probably a Utah-esque. And that would probably be the most similar from a schematic standpoint right now. But they're changing quite a bit from earlier in the year to now. So you gotta prepare for not what they're currently doing, but what they have in their arsenal. And I know that's that 3 eye safety stuff, which they've done in their past. So that's kind of I would say one of the challenges.
How much of that evolution do you think is the result of their injuries and a couple of their best players?
Yeah, I think obviously Coach Gundy's won for a long time, so he probably saw that, hey, our personnel fits this. This is what we got to do. So I would say there's probably something to that, but there's definitely a reason for the change, and it's probably I don't know the exact reason, but I could say Coach Gundy. Most good football coaches are all personnel driven. They know how to put their best players in the best position to be successful. So if they make a change like that from 3 down to 4 down, there was probably a personnel reason behind that.
Questions?
I thought we were done. Golly, that was fast.
Coach Ollie Gordon hasn't had the season many people probably envisioned, but how do you prepare for an offense that is really good in the passing game, but also has a weapon like Ollie Gordon?
Yeah, you got to limit explosive plays. For them, I saw a stat today. I don't know how many years it's been. I just forgot the stats. We go through all these crazy stats just because I think they're interesting. And it may be his entire career. He's Coach Gundy is 70-something and 0 when the opposing team gets held below 20 points. I'm like, that is absurd. Somebody make sure that's accurate, right? I was just told that in passing, right? So that may be the most false stat on the planet. But I think that goes to they run the football, right? They try to run the football. They try to have controlled passing game with efficiency. And they always have bigger backs. And I think the style of play, when you spread a team out and then have a bigger back, right, runs go for 4, 5, 18, right? You break one tackle. I think that's just the philosophy behind the style. So it makes it a challenge because you have to tackle this gigantic dude who's one of the best backs in college football with one dude sometimes. Not as many people around him because the RPO and the space that they produce / create.
Blake in the very back. Hey, Kenny, Blake is a source. Is there any update on any of the players health-wise this week?
Yeah, we should have everybody back. Sam should be back, but it's still, I'd say 60-40, 70-30, that he'll play this week. But it's one of those, we got to see him practice and stuff like that. But he's cleared to play. He wants to play. He's excited about playing. He's been putting in a lot of work to play. So we'll see how that transpires.
And any update on Jaden?
Yeah, he's back. He'll be fine. all was positive last week, and so he should be good.
You said that Sam's cleared.
Yeah, he's actually been. I mean, he's been cleared for 3 weeks. I mean, for us, this was we're protecting Sam and his competitiveness from Sam and his competitiveness. Because if it was Sam's choice, he would have gone right back in the game the next play, and then he would have played the next week right after that. And it's more like, hey, bud, like, let's work together here. Like, you're not playing. How about that? I don't care if you can play, you or you're not, and we can go from there. So that's just kind of us and Sam working together, and he's cleared and he wants to play. So now we got to see him out there practice and roll from there, because I have a lot of confidence in Jeff.
Hey Kenny, Max Bears and his family. Obviously, with the work that you've done with Sims this year, you obviously know what it's like for a quarterback to be on the journey. Considering what Alan Bowman has been through, playing 7 years of college football, obviously what he did last year in this building in League Two. What can you say about how he's been this season, considering it's been up and down here for the offense with all the injuries and all necessarily the discontinuation that's been going on?
Yeah, last week I think he threw for over 300 yards, high completion percentage. You can't count the last interception, so really no interceptions last week. The last one is desperation, throw the ball up. Those don't count. They just look bad in the stat book. So he's a veteran that completes a high percentage of his balls over time. Then you're probably not going to spook with much. And that's due to 7 years of college football and the new age of college football. So, I'm sure for him, you would obviously like to have more wins in the win column. That's every team in the country. We would like to have more wins in the win column. But this is a veteran that won the job last year. He's won the job at a prior school. He's thrown for 500 yards in a game before. I mean, this is somebody who definitely is capable of putting up big numbers.
Ryan and Dave. Hey, Coach. Ryan Myers, Devil's Digest. So, last time you guys had a bye week, it was following your first loss of the season. Similar situation this time around. What do you guys go through this time of year when it comes to getting ready for these next late game 5 stretch that is going to be a lot for you guys going forward?
Yeah, the same process really as the first bye. Get the guys healthy. A lot of young bucks in there repping in practice from last practice. Get one really good practice in with the vets that we had on Thursday. And really get after a little bit. And then get back to work. It's a normal Monday, normal Tuesday, normal Wednesday, normal Thursday, normal Friday, and repeat for us. Obviously us as a staff, we're going to pull back a little bit like we did Utah week, the shortened week, and like we did last week. Pull back a little bit just to make sure we keep guys healthy, because in my opinion at this time of the year, there's some programs that can keep the foot on the gas and go. And if they get some guys dinged up, they can survive. And then other programs that it's a battle of health. Who is the healthiest and the freshest in week 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12? What guys take the field and play hard and physical for 5 more weeks? And we've got to make sure our guys are in the best position to do that.
To kind of follow up, despite having Saturday games, that mean you guys plan on doing that for the last month of the season as well, kind of altering maybe some of the weeks from what you guys usually do?
Yeah, we'll definitely the Tuesday practice or Wednesday practice. Will definitely be shorter and not as physical than they have been. We've had a pretty physical spring, a pretty physical fall camp, pretty physical first 4 to 5 weeks of the season. I think it's time to take it off of the guys a little bit and make sure we can stay as fresh and healthy the rest of the way. So, like I told them, when we say we're gonna go, we better go. Like, there better be contact. It better be physical. We can't turn that down. Right, from that physicality standpoint, when we say go, we just gotta take a little of it off of you. But you can't manage yourself. Let us manage that.
Sammy, hey, Kenny, Damon Allred, Arizona Sports. With Sam being probably back now, you mentioned last week that there were some things that needed to be tweaked around Jeff. Is there anything throughout this bye week that you wanted to tweak around Sam?
No. I mean, there's a few things that we added with Jeff. There's really nothing that we took out for him. So there's really no, to answer your question, not much. I mean, we've been rolling with Sam for a while, so it's really just back at it, status quo, if he's the guy this week, which I hope and I anticipate that he is.
Coach, you had the opportunity to do 2 self-scouts now over the bye, 2 3-week, kind of 3-day period for each of them. What was the biggest thing that stood out to you about the self-scout that maybe wasn't there the first time?
Yeah, our guys are still playing hard. I mean, I know that's a small one. There's a few coverages that we're not great at. There's a few coverages that we're really good at. I don't want to get too much. I want them to figure that out, which they will, right? But there's a few things that we've got to lean on more, and kind of a few that we got to take out. And then from a running the ball perspective, I would say the same thing. There's a few rushing schemes that have been really high productivity rate for us that haven't been called a lot, and then a few that have been called a lot that haven't had as high productivity rate. So we got to really lean on what we're good at this point. When you're battling at weeks this late in the season, yeah, scheme is important, but your guys should have seen most of scheme, so you may be in a little bit of a repeat mode. So now it's about execution, and then how do you make something look different and get to the same thing that you've already done or that you've repped 40, 50 times.
Chris?
Just curious about in-game decisions, like how much have you studied and what resources have you used with like time management late in games, or has the analytics on whether they're going for fourth downs, things of that nature as a coordinator and how's that going?
Yeah, obviously, when you coach offense, you're constantly worried about the clock. So my entire career, 2 minute, 4 minute, when you can end a game, how many seconds it takes to end a game, when you should go for two, and all those, the analytics piece of the game, when you go for fourth downs, is kind of built into offensive coaching naturally, because you have to know all that. You have to know if you get to a 4th and 4 on the minus 45, that this week it's going to tell you to go for it, which not everybody may like, right? And if it's a 4th and 2 on the minus 30, this week may be a go for it according to the book, right? Now, we don't use the book, but I would say throughout, generally, right, the book doesn't change more than 1 to 2 yards until you get to about the 40-yard line. The plus 40, most of the time, it's very consistent, give or take, how aggressive. Sometimes 4th and 3 could be a go on the minus 35 some weeks, minus 38. We don't do it that specifically. I just know the general area, and then we play from there. In terms of like game clock and game management, I love rules. I'm a little bit of a nerd, so I study rules. I study how rules affect, like, if you go out of bounds with 2:05 left, well, you shouldn't use a timeout, because if you use a timeout, well, or 2:45 left, well, they have to set the ball. So you're really only gaining 38 seconds instead of 40 seconds on your timeout usage. It's better to use that timeout if somebody's tackled inbounds, even though they throw the ball back in bounds in college football, right? After a first down with 3:30 left, obviously the clock stops. So you should never use a timeout after a first down when you're in a 4-minute scenario. Like, there's so many little nuances of college football that are different than the NFL because the stoppage rules with first downs and out of bounds, that it's actually a little bit more difficult to work the clock in 4-minute and 2-minute drills. So you just got to know the rules, and you got to know the referee mechanics of how the ball is going to get spotted and when the clock is going to roll based off that. And that's just stuff that I've studied over time, and learned from different people. Every week I learn something else from a different coach that they do when we watch all these weird scenarios Coach Butterfield puts together, and then we watch them all just because I want to see if somebody's doing something that we should do.
How challenging is it when you have like a big disparity between home and road success on fourth downs, or having a backup quarterback, or just kicking game not being good or whatever?
Yeah, you got to manage. You just got to manage your team. You got to get to know the team, right? And for us right now, we're having big waves of negative on the road. Like, it's like, oh, we're playing good football. Oh crap, we just lost 17 straight points or 24 straight points. What just happened? Oh, we played good football again. It was like 12 minutes or 15 minutes from hell, right? Gets us down all these points, and then we play another 3 quarters of good football on the road. So it's like, how can we manage the emotions of the game? And, you got to get to know your team. Maybe the statistics and common sense, or not common sense to like the general fan, because teams are going for it now more than ever, but common sense from a statistical standpoint may say, oh, this is in 4th and 1 on the 48. Yeah, you go for it every time. Like, this isn't even a question. 4th and 2 on the minus 45. Yeah, this is an absolute go for everything that's even close to analytics. It's a go. But our team is struggling handling emotional swings on the road. So for our team, maybe that's punt on the road. Who knows? I mean, those are the things that when you get to know your team and get to know, okay, if we can just manage this downward spiral on the road, limit it, and get out of it, we play really good football. So how do I limit that and not get caught up in the analytics or what, over time should be successful, what is successful for our team, even from a mental standpoint?
Hey, Kenny, Jake Garcia with 12 News.
I recruited a Jake Garcia. Not you.
4 or 5 star quarterbacks, is that right?
Yeah, I can't comment on a specific player.
Can I actually go way back? When it comes to how you self-scout both your performance and then the performance from the rest of your staff, what's changed between last year and this year? I'm curious, just as you navigate that process, how you've grown and what you've learned.
Yeah, that's a good question. I'd say that the buy-in of the team, when you watch our team play, I thought we played hard last year, but I think we play with confidence this year. Like the buy-in and the confidence of how we play, like even when we're down, I don't really think people think we're going to lose. Like, and that's a very difficult thing to build is, we're down 17 on the road and our first drive, we don't score in the second half. And there's not really like a flinch in our guys. We go get a stop, go down, score again, 10 points. Oh, go all the way down the goal line. Oh, this is getting bad again. Stop. Get the ball back, drive back down the field. So like our guys have that confidence about them. And I think that's the number one thing is coaching is inspiring guys to believe that what you're doing is working, believe in the vision that what you're selling. And I think right now we have a team because of our staff that has kind of made those guys believe in what we're doing. The staff and the leadership councils, they believe in the direction we're going. They believe in the style of play. And I think for us, that's the biggest thing for me when it looks to the coaching staff. The schemes are great. Like we better have solid scheme. Like that's what I look at. That's my background is scheme, right? But the real challenge is how do you get your players to believe in the vision and play really, really hard.
Although looking at Oklahoma State's this season, taking into Mike Gundy's tenure as a whole, he's been very consistent over his career. Complimentary on Kyle Whittingham, also a consistent guy in college football. Are there specific similar characteristics you admire about Mike Gundy, or maybe some additional ones that you've seen?
Yeah, I mean, 100%. I mean, like I said, he's gone roughly 20 years without losing with winning 7 or more games. That's absurd. I mean, that's absolutely crazy to when you really just think about it. I think it was 2005, maybe. I don't know the exact stat. It may be 16 years, 17, an absurd amount of time. And the consistency that he's brought to that program is very similar to Coach Whittingham. It's impressive, the toughness that they consistently play with, the style of brand. You kind of, when you know what both those teams are going to be when you play them, the style of play. They may change schemes, they may change coordinators, but when you play Oklahoma State, they're going to have a really good wideout that you got to cover. They're going to be able to throw the ball productively. They're going to have a big back. Like the style of play you're going to get. And I think anytime you can create that consistency in your program, that's how you win for a long time. So kudos to him because he's done a phenomenal job for a long, long time.
Hey, Kenny, to follow up on that, what things do you want when people think of ASU that you hang your hat on in your teams, hang your hat on much like the big receiver for Oklahoma State and the physicality of Utah?
Yeah, I want our team. I want when people watch us. Obviously, I tell the team, smart, tough, the ball, the team. Like that's our mantra of how we play football, right? I think it's really hard for I would not really want a group of people to describe us as smart. Like, oh, that team, they don't get penalties. Like, I hope we don't get penalties, but I really don't want that to be the description, right? I want them to describe us as tough. Like these dudes, doesn't matter if they're up, they're down, like they're going to hit you in the mouth, right? They're going to take care of the football, right? And they're going to have explosive plays because they play super hard. Explosive plays are made through people playing with an exceptional effort, right? Explosive plays are prevented by people playing with an exceptional effort. To clean up, somebody gets beat one-on-one, 3 guys are sprinting their butt down the field to cut them off and tackle them at the 12 instead of him score a touchdown. So I would want somebody to say, these guys play tough, they fly around, they play really, really hard, they chase the ball, they block downfield, right? And those two things create explosiveness. They're explosive. If we could be very tough, play really hard, and are explosive with those three things, I think you can win a lot of football games, and a lot of people would want to play in that.
And one quick follow-up with that. You mentioned last week Tyson would be a guy that you want to get the ball more in his hand and that sort of thing. What growth have you seen from him from last year to this year?
Yeah, hip mobility. When he got here, he's a little stiff. He knows it. I told him. He worked his butt off to create more hip flexibility. And I think you can see it throughout the games that he's way more, lack of a better term, not athletic, because he's always been a super good athlete, but he's way more flexible and limber on the field than he was last year. And that's what excites me, is the times that we've given him the ball, he's had explosive plays. And that's when you look at Cell Scout this time of year, you're looking at your schemes, obviously, but you're also looking at, like, man, what guys need to touch it more? Like, he's a guy who needs to touch it more. He's a guy we got to put on the field more. He's a guy who needs to touch it more because, one, he's a great kid and he deserves it. But, two, physically, his production deserves it. So it's he's one of my favorite players on the team. I mean, I know I say that about a lot of kids, which is true. There's a lot of my favorite players on the team, but he's a guy who's very similar to Keith. They're best friends. He's in the Barrett Honor School. He just does everything right. He ran, I think, 10.6 in high school, which naturally he was a little, you're a straight line runner. He's got more flexibility now. He just makes plays. He does things right. He plays on all our special teams. Like, that's a guy you want in your program. That's a guy you want to succeed in your program. That's a guy you want people to root for, buy jerseys of. Like, that's a guy that I could sleep really great at night if Kent was being babysat by him. Like, I could sleep phenomenal at night.
We all silly like the mayor.